Hello and welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering that's probably wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Leslie.
I'm Shauna.
And today we are bringing you another deep dive into the precons from Modern Horizons 3. We're going to tell you all about this deck, what it's meant to do, what cards are in it, and if you wait until the end, we have some tweaks that might make this deck just a little bit better. So, Shauna is going to tell us which deck we're talking about, who the commander is, and what it's meant to do.
Yeah, this deck is called Creative Energy. We are being creative and making lots of energy to do lots of creative things with. So why not? This deck has lots of tokens, lots of counters, especially energy counters. So it's got the ability to populate and proliferate a little bit, maybe. Let's just see what we have. And basically, you want to make as much energy as possible and then use it wisely. There's all sorts of ways you can use it, from drawing cards to killing things. So let's see what we can do. Our commander is Satya, Aetherflux Genius. So taking us back to the plane of Kaladesh, which I love. Leslie too. For one and a blue, a red, and a white. This guy is a human artificer with menace and haste, which is really handy. 3/5. And when he attacks, you get to create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of up to one other target non-token creature you control. And you get 2 energy. And at the beginning of your next end step, you get to sacrifice that token unless you pay an amount of energy equal to its mana value. So depending on what you're copying and how much energy you have, we'll see. So that could be really fun. The other commander for this deck is Kaith, famed mechanist. 3/3 for one, and the white and the red and the blue. Dwarf Artificer that says Fabricate 1. So Fabricate means when this creature enters the battlefield, you can either put a 1/1 counter on it, or you can create a 1/1 servo artifact. It's up to you. And other non-token creatures you control have Fabricate 1. So that's really handy. You can either make counters or tokens, depending on what you want to do. And you can pay 2 and tap her and either populate or proliferate. Populate is where you make a copy of a token, and proliferate is where you put another counter on as many things as you want that have counters. Just one counter for each thing, but as many things as you want.
Yeah.
And Leslie is going to tell us all about how the deck is broken down.
Awesome. And before I do that, I just would like to point out that Kaith is an old lady. We finally get another old lady on.
Yay!
I'm just thinking of your Elders deck.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, so deck breakdown. Our mana curve is not really a curve. It's kind of like just a flat plane of existence. But we have 4 at 0 to 1. We have 14 at 2, which is nice. That's like pretty quick. 11 at 3, 12 at 4. We have 8 at 5. We have 13 at 6. So quite a few high mana cost things in this deck as well. As far as the color breakdown, it's pretty even across the board in all of our categories. Multicolor is 10, colorless is 15, white is 15, blue is 11, and red is 11. Card types, we have a lot of creatures, 29 creatures in this deck, and a lot of artifacts. Of course, it's an artificer deck. So 21 of those. And then sorceries 9, sorceries and instants 9, and enchantments 3. So that's kind of a glimpse into the guts of this deck.
Yeah. All right. So Leslie and I like to use a deck building formula when we build decks, and Wizard seems to follow it for the most part as well. So when we are evaluating decks or building our own decks, we use this formula. So ramp is about 15 of them, removal about 15 of those as well, and card draw, you only need about 13, which is pretty good. And then high impact, so cards that are going to win you the game, about 12 of them. And then other cards that support the theme or support your win conditions, about 10 of those. And about 35 lands will help you get to the win, hopefully.
To the win.
Yeah.
And the first section we're going to talk about is our ramp and mana generators. Again,
Mhm.
the formula calls for 15. This deck has about 13. And so that's very on par. You can have up and down, -2 or +2 in those categories. First one being Burnished Heart for 3. It's a 2/2 little elk. You can sacrifice it to search for 2 basic lands and put them on the battlefield, then shuffle.
Yeah. Then we have Professional Facebreaker. This guy is a 2/3 with Menace. Um, I like this card. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get to create a treasure token, and you can sacrifice the treasure and exile the top card of your library and play it this turn if you'd like.
Mm. As far as the mana, I'm just realizing this is very close to the other one that we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Arcane Signet and Soul Ring are also in this deck. Of course, very similar staples. For Magic, Arcane Signet taps for 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, and Soul Ring taps for 2 colorless.
Then we've got 3 talismans. They're including talismans in these commander decks, which is really fun. They tap for various colors. So the conviction is for red and white. It deals a damage to you if you don't use it for colorless. And the creativity is for blue and red. And the talisman of progress is for the white and blue. So that covers your 3 colors.
Mm-hmm. And Wayfarer's Bauble is 1, and then later on you can pay 2, sacrifice it to go search for the basic land that you need that you're having trouble getting.
Mm. Coalition Relic, it is a little artifact it taps for any color, but you can also tap it and put a charge counter on the relic. And at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you can remove all charge counters from it and add 1 mana of any color for each charge counter removed this way.
Mm-hmm. And Conversion Apparatus, I believe this is one of our new ones for 3.
Mm-hmm.
It taps for colorless, or you can pay 3 and tap it to get 3 energy, or you can tap it and pay 3 energy to add 3 mana of any combination of colors. So lots of versatility in this. And of course, we have a little quote from Saheeli on the bottom of this. The most useful objects really ought to be the most beautiful. And I agree.
True enough. Hourglass of the Lost. I think this is a new one as well. This is for 2 and a white, a little artifact that's you can tap it and add white mana. But it also puts a time counter on the Hourglass of the Lost, and then you can tap this guy and remove X time counters from it, and exile this card and return each non-land permanent with mana value X from your graveyard to the battlefield, only as a sorcery. So this could really help you later in the game. You don't need the mana anymore. You're going to use all those things and bring back all your whole graveyard pretty much.
Yeah. I love that it allows you to tap mana and add a time counter, but then
Mm-hmm.
just as a reminder for those that we were just talking about proliferate, and a counter is a counter, so time
Mm-hmm.
counter can also be proliferated, so you can just add extra ones.
Definitely. Yeah.
And Midnight Clock is another one that, again, it adds for mana, but this is one that fits in a couple categories because there's some card draw in it as well. So for 3, you can put an hour counter on Midnight Clock, and at the beginning of each upkeep, you get to put another hour counter on Midnight Clock. And when the 12th hour counter is put on Midnight Clock, you shuffle your hand and your graveyard into your library. Then you draw 7 cards and exile it. So this will be one that you'll want to timing wise play when you're starting to get low on cards in your hand. You need to draw another 7 so you can reset yourself. So don't play it right off the bat necessarily. And then, yeah, each upkeep means your opponents as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Solar Transformer, it's a little 2-cost artifact that says, it enters battlefield tapped. But when it enters battlefield, you get 3 energy, and you can tap it to add colorless mana, or you can tap it and pay an energy and add any color.
Mm-hmm.
Handy.
Yep. And we're on to our card draw and tutors section. Formula calls for 13, and the deck has 12, so we're right on par there. First one is Combustible Gear Hulk, which also fits in our high impact category, but it's a 6 mana cost 6/6 with first strike. Enters the battlefield. Target opponent may have you draw 3 cards, their choice. But if that player doesn't, then you mill 3 cards, and Combustible Gear Hulk deals damage to that player equal to the total mana value among those cards. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you want to take some damage, or do you want me to draw 3?
You decide. Royal Cartographer. This is a new card. 1/3 for 2. It has landfall. So whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, you get an energy. That could really build up your energy. And you can pay 6 energy and draw 3 cards. Sweet.
Solemn Simulacrum for 4, 2, 2. When it enters the battlefield, you get to search your library for a basic land, so there you get some ramp in there as well. But when it dies, you get to draw a card, so it fits in both categories.
Yeah. Sphinx of the Revelation. It's a 4/5 flying lifelink. Nice for 3 and white and a blue. Whenever you gain life, you get that many energy. What? And you can pay X and 2 blue and tap this guy and pay X energy and draw X cards. So there's a good use of the energy there too.
Yeah. Tezzeret's Gambit. This one has Phyrexian mana on it. So basically, your Phyrexian mana counts as blue. So you can pay blue and 3, or you can pay 2 life and 3 instead. So draw 2 cards and then proliferate. This is our first proliferate. So again, you get to choose any number of permanents and put another 1/1 counter. You can choose your opponent's permanents as well if you want to try and make some friends.
Glimmer of Genius. This is a great instant that's for 3 and a blue that lets you scry 2, draw 2 cards, and you get 2 energy. Very good.
Yeah. And then Aetherworks Marvel, another great way to use your energy for 4. Whenever a permanent you control is put into a graveyard, you get an energy, and then you can pay 6 to look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast a spell from among them without paying its mana cost, and then put the rest at the bottom of your library in random order.
What?
So you can just keep getting stuff for free once this is out on the battlefield.
Yeah.
As you're gaining energy.
And the Bespoke Battle Wagon is an extremely useful little vehicle. It doesn't have to actually do anything for you other than sit there, and you can tap it and get 2 energy. Or you can tap it and pay 2 energy and tap a target creature. Or you can pay 3 energy and tap it and draw a card. Or you can pay 4 energy and it becomes an artifact creature until end of turn. Or you can crew it for 4 and just swing with it.
So many options. It's a really
so
good
useful.
vehicle in
Such
this
a
deck.
useful little guy. Awesome.
So good. And it's an uncommon. So
Mm-hmm.
And this has Binding of Thassa in it for 2 and 2 blue. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and then you can also pay 2 and tap it. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. So basically you can say, you know what, you're just sitting there dirtling away and not attacking because you're not wanting to get rid of your blockers, but I'm going to make you.
Yeah. This Coveted Jewel, this is a really great fun commander card. I think it might be new. So it's for 6, an artifact that says when it enters the battlefield, you draw 3 cards. And then you can tap it to add 3 mana of any one color. And then whenever one or more creatures an opponent controls attack you and aren't blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of Coveted Jewel. Untap it. So who knows what you want to do with that?
Yeah, it's another good make friends card.
Yeah.
Is it Generatorium for 2 is an artifact. If you would get 1 or more energy, you get that many +1 instead. So a little extra energy once this is on the battlefield. And you can also tap it to draw a card. Activate only if you've paid or lost 4 or more energy this turn, which there, as you see, there's lots of things you can spend your energy on. So yeah, drawing some cards after.
Era of Innovation. This is a little enchantment that's going to be there all the time for you. A 1 and a blue. Whenever an artifact or an artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. And if you do, you get 2 energy. So this is going to help you get some energy. You can pay 6 and sacrifice this and draw 3 cards when you're ready.
Yep.
Very nice.
And now we're on to our removal section. So formula calls for 15 and our deck only has 8. So it's a little light on the removal. So we would like you to add more to that as a possibility.
Yeah.
Blaster Hulk for 8 is an 8/8. It costs 1 less to cast, however, for each energy you've paid or lost this turn. So potentially, if you pay 6 energy for something or 4 energy for something, you can get it out for 2. So it's an 8/8 for 2. It has
Mm-hmm.
haste, and when it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 8 energy, and when you do, it deals 8 damage divided as you choose amongst 8 targets. So um, it does lots, and I think it's going to be a fun one. I think that's a new one, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
And it's a pirate.
It's a pirate.
Hey, we were just talking about pirates. Grenzo, the Havoc Razor. This is a little goblin rogue for 2/2 for 2 red. He is, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you choose one. So you goad target creature that player controls, and goading means that they have to attack next turn, but not you. And then also you could choose exile the top card of that player's library until end of turn. You may cast that card, and you may spend mana, so mana of any color, to cast that spell. So steal their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Flavor text. You burn, I'll pillage.
Nice.
Skyclave Apparition for 3 is a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you're going to exile a target non land, non token permanent you don't control with a mana value 4 or less. And then when it leaves the battlefield, the exile card's owner creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the mana value of the exiled card. So it's just a nice way to get rid of something for a little bit of time while it'll be permanently. And they do get the benefit of having something back based on the mana value, but some nice removal.
Yeah. Austere Command. This is a great sorcery for 4 and 2 white. You can choose 2. Destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, destroy all creatures with mana value 3 or less, or all creatures with mana value 4 or greater. Board wipe of
Yeah.
things.
You have to choose 2. You can't just choose 1. You have to
Yeah.
choose 2, and they have to be different. So you do have to think about that.
Think about it.
Confiscation Coup for 5 is a sorcery. Choose target artifact or creature. You get 4 energy. Then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that permanent's mana value. If you do, gain control of it. So steal somebody's stuff with your energy. Why not?
Nice. Then we have Farewell, which is another board wipe in white for 4 in the 2 white. You choose one or more, exile all artifacts, all creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. So again, you have to choose, except you only have to choose one if you want, but think about it because it affects you as well.
Yeah. You want a little bit more control over your board wipe, then you might want to use localized destruction for 5. So first you're going to get an energy, and then you're going to pay 1 or more energy to basically choose the power that you're going to make indestructible. So each creature you control with power equal to the amount of energy that was paid gains indestructible, and then you destroy all creatures. So you're going to want to try and kind of like see where your things are at and pay that much energy, and then board
Mm-hmm.
wipe.
Yep. Swords to Plowshares. This is a great little targeted removal for 1 white exile target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power. That's okay. You're going to kill them anyways.
Kill them anyways. High impact cards is our next section. We think you should have at least 12, and this deck has 11. So we're right where we need to be. Aether
Mm-hmm.
Squall Ancient is our first one. For 7, it's a 6/6. It's got flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy, which is amazing. Like you just 3
Mm-hmm.
energy on your upkeep. Then you can pay 8 to return all other creatures to their owner's hands. Activate only as a sorcery. So all other creatures includes everything but this. So yours
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah, but that's okay. Aetherstorm Rock, a 3/3 flyer for 2 and 2 white. Whenever it or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get energy. So you're going to play everything and get all this energy again. And whenever this attacks, you may pay 2 energy. And if you do, you put 1 counter on it and tap up to 1 target creature defending player controls. So you're going to tap their stuff, make this
Mm-hmm.
bigger, get in there for the damage.
And it doesn't say you can only do it once per turn, so you can really pay as much energy as you want into that. And for every 2 you pay, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you do put a 1/1 counter on it, tap. Yeah, yeah.
So Aether Tide Whale for 6 is our 6/4 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 6 energy counters. Then you can pay 4, and it gets
Return it.
returned back to your hand. So it's a nice way to protect it if someone does a board wipe and you need to keep it, or you do a board wipe and you need to keep that particular one. You can use your energy for that.
Yeah. Angel of Invention, 2/1 for 3 and 2 white, but it has flying, vigilance, and lifelink, and fabricate 2, which means you can either make 2 servos or you can put 2 +1 counters on this guy, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. She's good.
And we've already talked about our little old lady Kate, but it's another option and a fairly high impact card. You're fabricating, so creating a servo. Other non token creatures have fabricate 1, and then you can populate or proliferate.
That would be really good if you were playing Gold Spanning Dragon. Putting a counter on him makes him bigger. 4/4 flying and haste for 3 and 2 red. And whenever it attacks or becomes the target of a spell, you get to create a treasure token. And treasures you control have add 2 mana instead.
Mm-hmm.
Double whammy.
Crazy. Salvation Colossus is a angel. It's not an angel construct, but it should be an angel construct with that name. 8 is a 9/9. It's got flying. It has vigilance. It has trample. It's got all the things, you guys. And whenever you attack, another creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains indestructible until the end of turn.
All creatures.
All creatures. Yes.
Other creatures you control. Yeah.
Other creatures. And
All of
then
them.
Unearth, it also has that you can pay 8 energy and return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's really hard to get rid of because you're just going to be able to keep bringing it back, giving things
Just once.
indestructible and +2/+2. So,
Just once.
is it
You have to exile it after.
okay?
Yeah.
But you can bring it back and do it again if
Definitely.
you manage to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm. Chroma's Will, an instant for 3 and a white. Choose one. If you control commanders, you cast a spell, you may choose both. Creatures you control have flying, vigilance, and double strike until end of turn. Double strike means it hits not once, but twice. So first strike and then again. And that's really extra damage. And creatures you control gain lifelink, indestructible, and protection from each color until end of turn.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Crazy.
Protection means that you can actually, get in for all that damage too.
What does protection mean for those that don't know?
Oh, protection is if you say it's it's protection from each color. So basically, what's the little? I always forget the little red. What? Debt. So it can't be destroyed,
Damaged,
whatever.
damaged, enchanted,
See,
blocked by, or targeted.
Yeah.
Debt.
By any of the colors.
Yeah.
So it just gets right in.
Yeah. So Aether Refinery for 6 is an artifact. If you would get 1 or more energy, you get twice of that energy instead.
Nice.
So that's a nice little artifact to have on the battlefield in this deck. And when you get energy, then you may pay 1 or more energy. If you do, create an XX black Aetherborn creature token where X is the number of, or the amount of energy paid this way. So you can just pay some energy to make big old black Aetherborn creatures if that's what you want energy for.
Yeah. Deconcoction module for 2. It's whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain an energy. So that includes tokens. You can pay for and tap this guy and return target creature you control to its owner's hand. So getting that whole energy thing going with your enter the battlefield triggers. Sweet.
Yep. And last but certainly not least in this high impact section, we have Gonti's Aether Heart. It's a legendary artifact that costs 6, and when it or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get 2 energy. So you just saw how many artifacts we have, and any artifact entering the battlefield, including treasures from Goldspan Dragon or whatever, gets you 2 energy. Then you can pay 8 energy and exile it and take an extra turn after this one.
Sweet.
Yeah, great.
Then we're on to the support section. So the formula calls for 10. The deck has 17. So there's lots of little things that don't necessarily win you the game, but support that whole energy building thing.
Yeah.
So it really supports your win conditions of those
Mm-hmm.
high impact cards. So
Yeah.
the first one we have here is the Aether Geode Miner. It's a 3/1 for 1 and a white. And whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy. And you can pay 2 energy and exile this guy, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control.
Yeah.
So just a little generator of energy. That's what this
Mm-hmm.
guy does.
And we have an amped raptor as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2/1 for 2. It's got first strike. When it enters the battlefield, you're going to get 2 energy. And then if you cast it from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So when you have a bunch of stuff or a bunch of energy saved up and you think you have enough to pay for whatever might come next, you can just put this guy on the battlefield, plus he gives you 2 energy when he comes in.
Mm-hmm. Aurora Shifter. This is a little 1/3 shapeshifter for 2. And when it enters, or sorry, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you get that much energy. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 2 energy. And when you do, Aurora Shifter becomes a copy of another target creature you control, except it has this ability. And whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, you get that much energy. So, yeah. So you can make it become a copy of something big and do a ton of damage. Be awesome.
Yeah, crazy. A Brutaclad is another great support for this. 6 for a 4/4. It gives your creature tokens haste. Um, and then at the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to create a 2/1 blue Phyrexian mirror artifact creature token. Again, another artifact entering the battlefield. Then you may choose a token you control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. So that's at the beginning of combat. You're doing that, and all
Mm-hmm.
of your tokens have haste. So yeah, so it's
Depend-
conditional though. You got to have
yeah,
the right
but
conditions. That's why it's
yeah,
not in high impact.
yeah. Lightning Runner. It's a 2/2 for 3 and 2 red. It has double strike and haste, so it's going to hit as if it were a 4/4. Whenever it attacks, you get 2 energy. Then you may pay 8 energy, and if you pay, untap all creatures you control. And after this phase, there is an additional combat phase.
Yep,
So
they like the
a lot of damage.
multiple turns.
Mm-hmm.
Mirror Battle Sphere for 7. When it enters the battlefield, you create 4/1/1 colorless mirror artifact creature tokens. And when it attacks, you may pay X or you may tap X untapped mirror that you control. If you do, it gets plus X plus 0 until the end of turn and deals X damage to a player or a planeswalker that it's attacking. So just give you some extra damage and extra things to do with your mirror, which of course you're creating mirrors with Brutaclad as well. So there's some synergy happening.
Yeah. Um, Overclocked Electromancer. He's a little bit hyper. It's a 2/2 for 2 and a red. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may pay 3 energy. If you do, you can put a counter on this guy. And whenever he attacks, you get to double its power until end of turn. What? And whenever he deals combat damage to a creature, if that creature was dealt excess damage this turn, you get X energy, where X is the excess damage. So you're making this guy bigger. He's hitting harder. Not all of it is needed. You get to make more energy, and it just
Yeah,
keeps
it's like a
building and building
energy
and building.
trample. It's like trample, but
Definitely.
not.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that was new. Razorfield
Mm-hmm.
Ripper is a nice little equipment rhino. So this one is a 3 mana cost 3/3. So you can play it as a creature. When it or equipped creature attacks, then you get energy. Um, you get 1 energy, and then it
Mm-hmm.
gets plus X until the end of turn, where X is the amount of energy you have. So build up all your energy, and it gets plus X plus X. If you put this on something with trample, then suddenly that's crazy. So it
Yeah.
does have reconfigure, which means you can play it as a creature or you can attach it to something. So you can pay 2 mana or pay 3 energy to basically reconfigure and attach it to a creature as an equipment instead.
Yeah. You've got Silver Quill Lecturer, so this helps with the token thing here. So it's a 4 and 1 white for a 3/3, and creature spells you cast have demonstrate. So that means that whenever you cast a creature spell, you can copy it, and if you do, you can choose an opponent to have a copy as well. And each copy is a token and doesn't go away. You can just use it, so you can make a copy of the little razor field ripper if you want, or something like that.
Yeah, that's where your
Why not?
populate comes in. Basically anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Whirler Vitroso for 3 is a 2/3, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can also pay 3 energy to create a Thopter with flying.
Jolted awake. It's a little sorcery for 1. Wake up. Choose up to 1 target artifact or creature card in your graveyard. You get 2 energy. Then you may pay an amount of energy equal to that card's mana value. If you do, you return it from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Or if you don't need that, you can cycle it and draw a card, which could be helpful too.
Aether Sphere Harvester. I remember this one back from
Mm-hmm.
Kaladesh days. It's a
Yep.
great card. It's 3 for a 3/5, and it has flying. So already, just by itself, it's an amazing vehicle. When it enters, you get 2 mana, and then you can, or mana, energy, and then you can pay an energy, and it gains lifelink until the end of turn. And
Yeah.
it only has crew 1.
Yeah.
So
Good little guy.
yeah. So basically,
Um.
crew, because we didn't explain crew.
Oh
Sorry,
yeah.
you
Sorry.
can
Yeah.
tap a creature that you have with 1 or more power. You just need
Yep.
1 or more power to tap to crew.
Yeah. So just a little thopter or something.
Yeah, and you can use creatures that just came in that have summoning
Mm-hmm.
size to crew things.
Yes. Certainly. Filigree Racer. This is a 5/5 vehicle for 3 and a red. Kaladesh loves his vehicles. When it enters the battlefield, you get 4 energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2. When you do, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard games jumpstart until end of turn. So that means you can cast it from your graveyard by discarding a card.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, in addition to paying it. And its crew is only 1. Ooh,
great.
ooh,
It's 5/5 with
nice.
crew 1. It's crazy.
Yeah, sweet.
The nice thing about those is that they're creatures that are kind of safe from being killed with
Yes.
removal spells when it's
Yeah.
not your turn and you haven't crewed them.
Mm-hmm.
Stone Idol Generator for 5. When a creature you control attacks, you get an energy. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can pay 6 energy to create a 6/12 colorless construct artifact creature token with trample. Activate only as a sorcery. So this might be one that you create that token and put that other equipment on that gives it plus X energy as well. So
And that's energy for each creature that's attacking,
yeah,
which could be a
crazy.
lot. Unstable Amulet. It is a little artifact for 1 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this guy deals 1 damage to each opponent. Doing some of that graveyard stuff. Pay 2 energy, and you can exile the top card of your library. Oh, look at this! And you can play it until you exile another card with Unstable Amulet. So, yeah, just for paying. That's awesome. Yeah.
So Legion Loyalty for 8
Mm.
is a very high impact card, but the reason it's in our support and whatnot is because you have to have creatures to attack with. So it's a little conditional in that regard. But creatures you control have myriad, which means all
Mm.
creatures, when they attack somebody, you create copies attacking all your other opponents as well. So you can just send everything at one person and everything then suddenly goes at everybody as well. Or you can split it up and guess what? Everything still goes at everybody as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And you can make copies of those tokens and do stuff.
yeah,
Don't have to
exactly.
lose them.
Yeah.
Scurry of Gremlins. This is a little enchantment for 2, a red and a white. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 gremlins, and then you get an amount of energy equal to the number of creatures you control. could be lots. And you can pay 4 energy, and creatures you control get +1 in haste until end of turn.
Mhm.
Potentially game winning if you have enough creatures.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So this deck has 34 lands in it, or sorry, 38 lands in it. Our formula calls for 34. The only thing we did notice about the lands in this is that it didn't have Karn's Bastion, which has the pay for and proliferate ability on it. So because there is potential to proliferate, especially with the energy and the counters and whatnot in this deck, we thought that would be a good addition to our tweaks, which then again starts off our tweaks. So our first uh, our first real tweak here is Aether Revolt, which was a great set. For it's an enchantment, and as long as a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2. But whenever you get one or more energy, Aether Revolt deals that much damage to any target. That's really, I mean, the Revolt is fine. That's not the reason we think you should put that in this deck. It's because every time you gain energy, it deals that much damage to any target. So
Yep.
gaining that would just do so much work for you.
Yep. Dynavolt Tower. This is from Kaladesh, 3-cost artifact that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you get 2 energy, and you can pay 5 energy, and this guy deals 3 damage to target creature or player.
Yeah.
Build up that energy, do the damage. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's very good. Brotherhood Scribe would also be a good one. Now, this one is from the Fallout, so it might be a little bit hard to get, but you have 2 mana for a 1/3. It has Metalcraft, so you can tap it and get an energy, and then activate only if you control 3 or more artifacts, which you will because there's so many artifacts
Yep.
in this. Whenever you get 1 or more energy during your turn, creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of the turn. So
Yeah.
again, all this energy, giving your stuff +1/+1 until the end of the turn. That would be a great little card for this deck.
Yeah. Electrostatic Pummeler, another Kaladesh card, a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy. You can pay 3 energy, and it gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. You can pay the 3 energy, as many times as you want to. So you're doubling its power pretty much each time.
Yeah,
You
and
do
if you
that
can figure out some way, there's a few ways
to
to put counters
trample.
on things, right?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Liberty Prime Recharged for 2 and the 3 commander colors is an 8/8. It has Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. And then when Liberty Prime Recharged attacks or blocks, you sacrifice it unless you pay 2 energy. It's fine, you have lots. And then you can pay 2 energy and tap it and sacrifice an artifact to get 2 energy and draw a card. So some card draw, some energy use, some options, and it's an 8/8 with Vigilance, Trample, and
Yep.
Haste.
And another Kaladesh card, Deadlock Trap, for 3, an artifact. When it enters the battlefield tapped, but when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy, and you can tap it and pay an energy and tap target creature or planeswalker. This is a little bit more removal for you, and its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Nope, nope, nope.
And Guide of Souls for 1 is a human cleric. That's a 1/2. And when another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and get 1 energy. So all of those little tokens entering the battlefield would count
Yep.
towards that as well. Whenever you attack, you can pay 3 energy. When you do, you put 2 1/1 counters and a flying counter on a target attacking creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types. So now you're giving your things
Nice.
flying and energy and 2 1/1 counters, which then you can proliferate. And so,
Yeah. I saw this card. Someone had it in a pack
yeah.
yesterday. I'm like,
Oh,
that
good.
is a good card
Yeah.
for this deck. I want to get it. Territorial Gorger. Here we are with another Kaladesh card for 3 and a red, a 2/2 trampling gremlin. Whenever you get 1 or more energy counters, you give this guy +2/+2. So yeah, that makes him a 4/4 for you. Nice.
Awesome. Grim Puppet for 7. I don't think any puppet should be grim. I like it, just those two words don't go together. But it's a 4/4. When it comes into play, you get 3 -1 counters on it. However, you can remove a -1 counter from it and put a -1 counter on another target creature. So now you can move -1 counters to other creatures that your opponents
Mm-hmm.
control. And then you use your proliferate abilities to get rid of those creatures.
Mm.
So, as we said, you can proliferate other people's things to gain friends, but you can also proliferate other people's counters to gain enemies.
And speaking of proliferate, here's a way you can do that with Contagion Engine. It's a 6 cost artifact. When it enters the battlefield, you put a 1/1 or a -1 counter on each creature a target player controls, all of their creatures, and you can pay for and tap this guy, proliferate, and then proliferate again, helping you, hurting them, bonus.
Yeah. And some of your cards you let you use energy to use as mana, so then you could
Yeah.
use that for the 4. So crazy. Dreamtide Whale would also be another good addition to this. It's a 3 mana cost 7/5. What? It has
Mm-hmm.
Vanishing 2. So what that means is when it enters the battlefield, you're going to put a couple time counters on it, 2 to be exact, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you have to remove a time counter on it, and when the last one is removed, you have to sacrifice it. However, remember you're proliferating, so hopefully you're going to be able to proliferate and keep those time counters on there so that you don't have to get rid of it. When a
Mm-hmm.
player casts their second spell each turn, you also then get to proliferate again. So it's going to hopefully keep them from casting too many things, but if they
Mm-hmm.
do, they cast their second card, you're just going to be able to put a time counter on it and keep it on the battlefields. It's pretty crazy to get a 7/5 for
It's awesome.
3.
Yeah. Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus. It's a 3/5 for 2 and 2 blue, a Phyrexian horror that has flying. And if you would proliferate, you get to proliferate twice instead. You can pay 1 and Phyrexian mana. I think we explained that already, what Phyrexian mana is. And remove 3 counters from among other artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control. And you can put an indestructible counter on this guy. That might be handy when there's a board wipe.
Yeah. And Song of the World Soul for 6. It's an enchantment. Whenever you cast a spell, populate.
Copy
Populate.
all those tokens.
Just get
Woohoo!
those token copies out there.
Yeah. And then what would a energy deck slash Kaladesh deck be without Sahili Rai? She is the little planeswalker for 3, or loyalty for 3 mana. Her +1 is scry 1, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent, which is nice. -2 is create a token that's a copy of a target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other type. Gains haste, and then you have to exile it at the beginning, but copy it first. And then her -7 is search your library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names, put them on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. You've got a lot of really awesome artifacts in here.
Mm-hmm.
Go grab them with her.
Mm-hmm. And then we also thought this Sahili the Sun's Brilliance would be great for this deck. She's 2 mana cost, 2/2, and you can pay 2 to tap and create a token that's a copy of another target creature or artifact that you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Not only is that good because of the artifacts, but a lot of your tokens that you're making are just little servos or spirits or whatever. So this would allow you to make a token copy of something that's a little bit higher impact. And then now you have your populate abilities and you can create more copies of those things. Just a
Mm-hmm.
reminder though that your legendary rule still applies to
Right.
tokens. So
Definitely. And the enter the battlefield triggers also apply as you make those copies. So all these
yes.
enter the battlefield, making energy stuff
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Harness lightning. This is a really great little instant. You should be able to find it pretty easily. For 1 and a red, choose target creature. You get 3 energy. Then you may pay any amount of energy, and harness lightning deals that much damage to that creature. So you have to choose the creature first, pay the energy, and kill it. It's just a nice little easy removal to get to add some
Yeah.
more removal to this deck.
Yeah. So overall, this deck has a lot of triggers. It has a lot of things you're going to have to pay attention to. If you're brand
Mm-hmm.
new to Magic, it might not be where you want to start. But if you want a challenge, this might be a good deck for you. Those are all of our tweaks. So thank you so much for watching. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We really would love to hear what you would do to this deck or what you have done to this deck. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime,
Tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. Thanks, everyone.
bye, guys.